Welcome to my channel. I'm Elizabeth, Liz Muschett, and we have the full moon forecast for you today for the Cancer full moon. And my guest and colleague and friend is Justin.Elzie. Welcome, Justin. How are you today?
Great, Liz. I'm excited to talk about this first full moon of 2026.
Yeah, it's really fast after the new year. It's like the new year, and then we have a full moon.
Yep, yep.
So we're talking about the full moon in Cancer. And Justin.Elzie is an archetypal and Jyotish astrologer, teacher, author, and seer. And the best way to contact Justin is through his email at justin.elzie@gmail.com. I'm an astrologer, author, and intuitive, and you can reach me at my website, alightpath.com. So we're talking about the Cancer full moon. It's of the Cardinal modality, which begins the season and initiates. It's a water element. I forgot to change that. I'm so sorry. And so that's about emotions, and it's ruled by the moon. The full moon is about culmination. In this Cancer new moon, we can think of family matters, nurturing, food, nutrition, and the mantra is I feel. And the sun's in Capricorn about structure. Would you like to add anything, Justin?
Well, no, I think I was, uh, you know, I think it's kind of important for us just to think about what cancer's like for a second here before we jump into this. And, we mentioned a couple of things on there that it's family, nurturing, and food because it's an emotional sign and it's ruled by the moon. If you could leave up the slide there, I think maybe so people can see that. So it's ruled by the moon, and it is, of course, the traditional rule of the moon. So also rules children and family lineage, genealogy, history. There's a strong concept between Capricorn and Cancer with history. Um, but I think it's kind of important for us to think about how this moon is going to affect us, and it could, based on some aspects which we'll talk about, really will highlight our emotions more than probably one of the other moons and the other zodiac signs.
Thank you for adding that. It's also referred to the cold moon. And looking at the chart for Seattle, it happens on January 3rd at 2:03 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 5:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the moon and the sun are opposite each other here in this slide. And then Justin's going to lead us through the nakshatras.
Yeah, so one of the things we always look at are the lunar mansions, where the sun and moon are in as far as lunar mansions, and this is the constellations behind the deepness of space there, and what they're kind of gives us another layer on how these planets are acting. And so, for example, in this particular one, the sun, which we'll still talk about the sun briefly, but the moon is more important here, but the sun is in a nakshatra or lunar mansion called Purva Rashada, and it's in the second pada, second section there, and it's called the invincible star. So the sun is bringing this invincible energy in. Um, the ruling planet for this lunar mansion or section in the sky that the sun is in Capricorn is Venus. The ruling deity is Varuni, which is the goddess of the cosmic waters. And the symbol is an elephant's tusk, and it represents strength and connection. But if we got down more specifically, this is really about beauty and intellect and philosophy. So that's what the energy is coming in, that the sun there in Capricorn is bringing in this invincible energy that's looking for beauty in the structure and philosophy of life. Now, with the moon, Chandra, the moon is in the nakshatra of Ardra. It's in the fourth pada, which is ruled by water. The Navamsa is water. And in this particular one, it's the keywords are compassionate, creative change. And you may see that this deity here on the side here, we say It's Rudra, which is an aspect of Shiva, but it's what's called the screamer. So there is sort of this churning. We've got Vruni, the goddess of cosmic waters, involved on one end, and then here we have the screamer that brings in this whirlwind of emotional energy, Ardra. And so it's related to storms, and the symbol is a teardrop. And the basis above is to hunt or search, and the basis below is to reach a goal. So that is the energy that's coming in, overlaid on top of this Cancer moon, and that we're dealing with today.
Thank you for sharing the nakshatra information with us. I always find it so fascinating.
Yeah.
And
And
Justin,
so, go
share
ahead.
favorable activities. Go ahead.
Right. So, some favorable activities on this full moon, because this is a moon about change. So, when we look at that Ardra Nakshatra, some favorable activities are demolition of any type, creativity, breaking bad habits, because that's dissolution or demolishing something, getting rid of old things, managing difficult situations, addressing problems, and dissolving negativity. And these are all favorable activities during this full moon period.
Well, that's fascinating. I went through my cupboards the other day and couldn't believe how much expired food I had in there because I thought, well, gee, it seemed like I just did it, but I think it'd been almost 2 years. So
Hmm.
and so there was, several things to get rid of. So I've already started that.
Hmm.
So looking at this chart for the Seattle, we have the ascendant is 0 degrees Scorpio, circled in orange, and the chart ruler is Pluto in Aquarius and Mars in Capricorn. The midheaven is at 8 degrees Leo, and so ruling that is the sun in Capricorn. The sun's in Capricorn, so Saturn rules that, and Saturn is in Pisces, and the moon is in Cancer, and the moon is the ruler of Cancer. Do you want to add anything, Justin?
Not right away, though.
Okay, we'll keep moving along. So we're going to look at the Sabian symbols for the sun and the moon. They were channeled in 1925 by Elsie Wheeler with the assistance of Mark Edmund Jones. And there's one symbol for each degree of the zodiac that's a saying that makes like an image, up an image or a picture. And we like to look at the degree before, the degree of, and the degree after. So what's leading up, what is the degree, and what's next. So we're going to start with the moon. And Justin, can you start us off?
Sure. So, looking at this story, the past, present, and future here, we look at the story, a synthesization of these three degrees. The past is Cancer 12 degrees, which is a Chinese woman nursing a baby whose aura reveals him to be the reincarnation of a great teacher. That's the symbol we get here, and the key word here is revelation. Revelation.
And then Cancer 13, the now, a hand with a prominent thumb is held out for study. And the key word is character. Go ahead.
And then what we're moving forward towards here is Cancer 14 degrees, a very old man facing a vast dark space to the northeast. And this is really about permanence and truth and unchanging wisdom over the ages.
So how would you summarize the three together?
Well, this is this is interesting. Um, I think there's a strong psychological component to this moon as well. I know we talked about the nakshatras is about somewhat about philosophy and belief systems here, and here we're talking about truth and character and revelation. And I think this is leading us to that again. This is an important moon to really pay attention to. It's a good moon to do some meditation on, and I think it could be one that could illuminate some things for us in our own lives.
Oh, I like that, and I agree with that. So, revealing and being strong in our character and like the truth will win out. Okay, now for the sun, we're going to start with the degree leading up. 12 Capricorn, an illustrated lecture on natural science reveals little known aspects of life, and the key word is exploration.
Okay, and then Capricorn 13 degrees is a fire worshiper, meditates on the ultimate realities of existence. And here we have the will to transcend.
And then Capricorn 14, an ancient bas relief carved in granite remains a witness to a long forgotten culture. And the key phrase is historical perspective. So, how would you sum these three up?
Well, I think that if we look at these, the first one being exploitation, and then this next one being will to transcendence, and this one being a historical perspective. Whenever change happens, it's always good to know um, to look at things with a perspective, a historical perspective, or how things have been done in the past. And that's what I like about the whole Capricorn Cancer relationship in the zodiac sky. And I think this is really just helping us realize that as we go through these changes in life and wanting to transcend and really how do I say fulfill our purpose in this existence. We're learning how we use our resources and not exploit them, and that's something Cancers and Capricorns are very well aware of. And having an historical perspective so that um, we know how to move forward in the most productive way.
Thank you. That's well said, and I agree with that 100%. So, here's the Cancer full moon again, just to take a brief look. Do you want to share anything on this or just go into the moon aspects?
Let's. Well, something that jumped out to me here that I didn't notice earlier, and then now I notice now, as we started the show, is that Pluto is on the IC, and I know we're going to talk about the moon aspects, and maybe we'll talk about this aspect at the very end, but that's one I want to talk about later after we talk about the moon's aspects.
Okay. So, the aspect that the moon is making, it's conjunct Jupiter, square Ceres, semi-square Uranus and Sedna, trine the north node, sextile the south node, opposite Sun, Venus, and Mars. So, is there one you'd like to start with or something that jumps out at you?
Well, yeah, this conjunction of Jupiter. I know we have really foggy skies out here in the cloudy skies in the Pacific Northwest, but this is one of those times that you really want to, if you can see the full moon, you want to see the full moon because Jupiter is so bright in the sky that this is always a prominent aspect that people usually point out a lot is the moon Jupiter conjunctions in the sky because you can both always see them both very clearly, and it's kind of cool. But because it's cloudy in the Pacific Northwest, people may not see that. But it does represent something around optimism and Jupiter tends to expand anything it touches. So I do feel this will, in my experience, this will tend to expand people's emotions. Also, people, this is, I know we just had these floods here, but this is some aspect of flooding and ocean waters. Again, we had this goddess of the waters and the nakshatras and stuff, but and Ardra, which is a whirlpool of this water and storms. So this is an indicator of storms and waters. And so just to be kind of aware of that and flooding. But I think it's also auspicious. It'll be family issues will probably come up around this particular period of time because Jupiter is retrograding. And so that will highlight family, children issues. Good time to find that comfort food. And so I think that's how it's going to affect a lot of people. What about you?
Well, I like that, and I have been seeing Jupiter in the sky, but tonight it's too cloudy, but the last couple weeks I've been seeing Jupiter in the sky very brightly. Um, the sun is pretty much at the midpoint between, Mars and Venus on this, full moon. So, it's tying them together, and we all know that we're gonna have the Venus star point or the cazimi with Venus and the sun on the 5th, a couple of days following this full moon, and, they'll be conjunct the sun will be conjunct Mars too, I think on the 7th. I could be off a day. Um, but, just kinda this energy that's coming together closer and closer, um, and they're opposite, you know, at this time, so it's like, even though we haven't had the cazimis of the Sun and Mercury and Mars, it feels like that energy is very potent even now before it happens exact as it's approaching, so it's very been prominent in my opinion, big time.
Yeah. Well, you're correct. It's actually on the 7th that they'll actually be exact 17 degrees, all three of them together. So, um, the other thing that jumped, and I agree with you what you were saying about them being conjunct and the description there. The other thing that I was looking at earlier is the moon squaring series. And this, because Ceres does rule agriculture and food, but also our desires as well. It can have a little bit of a Venetian feel to it. Moon squaring it here can represent a tension between our emotions and desires. I think also this could be a time when you can make some change. We can make changes to diets and food issues may come up with the moon squaring series. What do you think?
Oh, I think you're right on for that, and it's starting to separate at this time, but, for several hours before this, it was, approaching it, now it's separating, so there could be some changes, and so that would make a T-square with, the sun and the moon there, so, some adjustments need to take place, so it's a good time to review, maybe your eating habits or where you're getting your food. Maybe you wanna get cleaner food or just make some changes there, so I would agree
Right.
with what you said totally. Anything else?
Uh, well, I think also the moon being semi-square Uranus and Sedna there. I think that's also something for people to be a little bit aware of. That's also a little bit of a close to being a semi sextile as well, um, but semi square there. And so this is can bring some tension in our emotions versus and communications here because Uranus being in Gemini there. So it's just raises a flag about how we are emotionally expressing ourselves right now. That could be a little bit not out of bounds, but it's definitely going to be a little bit different. Let's put it that way.
Right, and with that Uranus there, things can change on a dime, whether it's your emotions or your attitude towards family or what's nurturing, it's like you might have always really liked a certain vegetable, and now it's like, "No, I don't wanna eat that anymore because I don't think it's good for me," or something.
Right. Or communications could be a little bit over the shark, jumping the shark when it comes to emotions and communications. A little bit of risk there, right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, now we're gonna look at some aspect patterns. We have a mystical rectangle here. A mystical rectangle is made up of 2 sextiles and 2 trines that all connect together, and then 2 oppositions. So we have that south node sextile to the moon, trine to the north node, and sextile to Sun, Venus, Mars, and then trine back to the south node. And then we have the opposition with the nodes and the opposition with the sun and the moon. And to me, mystical rectangles require effort and work. And then once you do that, to me, they feel like that you're able to tap into whatever that gift or that lesson is in a nice way, maybe more than you expected. What do you think, Justin?
Well, yeah, I definitely would, because it is engaging the nodes. Um, it's definitely working towards progress of something with the moon trining the north node and sextiling the south node. That's definitely an emotional progress, and with the sun adding the sun energy as well. So I would agree with everything you said, actually. But you're the expert on mystic triangles, so
Okay, now we're gonna look at some T-squares. Now these ones are not involving the sun and moon, but to me, I kind of felt like it was some energy behind the full moon energy. So we have a T-square with Neptune, Saturn square Hygeia, and Juno, Mercury. And then we have one Chiron, Eris square Jupiter and Vesta. Do you wanna speak to one of them or both of them at the same time, or
well, the one that how do I want to say, the one that kind of jumped out with me, of course, was the Jupiter opposition to Vesta there, and that T square with what is it, Eras and Chiron. I think this is again just again talking more about how our emotions are affected with our difficult situations in the collective right now, and how are we dealing with them because of Eris being some discord, and Chiron being our trauma. So I think it's highlighting emotional issues with our traumatic events happening, and that we could actually heal from at this point. But it's something just to pay attention to. I think it's just an indicator of a lot of the invisible trauma that's happening to all of us in the collective.
right, and T-squares to me are, there's an adjustment that requires or is needing to take place, and so, take a breath and don't overreact because we wanna have healing like you mentioned. And then the other one with Hygeia opposite Juno square to Neptune and Saturn, to me, the Hygeia and the Juno really talks about relationships to me.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah.
you know, Saturn is like, how do we structure the relationship? But then how can we do it in a new way, make a new vision with that Neptune? And um, Neptune and Saturn are going to go into Aries here pretty soon. So that I think that will be easier to make those jumps or leaps to make changes. And, Hygeia is in Gemini, so how we communicate is really important and maybe, make improvements if we can at this time.
Yeah, I agree. Well said.
So do you have anything to add to that?
No, no,
So
you got it
do you
covered.
wanna talk about that Pluto, at the bottom of
Uh,
the chart getting ready to go into the 4th house?
Yeah, I think it's, we've talked about this before in shows, and I know we've had some other people talk about this, but whenever we have one of the big planets on an angle, it's something you should pay attention to, actually. It's and I think Pluto, on the IC, I think it's exact. Yeah, it's no, it's not exact degrees, but it's close there on the IC. This is bringing a sort of a focus on our inner world right now, and on families as well. I think based on where it's at there.
Well, I think that's good information to add to this full moon. So you ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna look at the lunar phase family or gestation cycle. It uses the 4 lunar phases, new, first quarter, full phase, and third quarter, and divides them up into 9-month intervals. So the new phase began July 5th of 24 at 14 degrees Cancer. The first quarter was April 4th of 25 at 15 degrees Cancer. The full phase is January 3rd at 13 degrees Cancer, and the third quarter phase will be October 3rd of 26 at 10 degrees Cancer. So typically they're really close in degrees and most of the time stay in the same sign unless they're really new degrees like 0, 1, 2, or the higher degrees 27, 28, 29. And if you journal or keep notes, sometimes you can look back and reflect of what you started around that new phase and how is it progressing now. And some of them will be stand out more than others, and other ones just, you don't there was not much, but, some of my I find it fascinating because when they click, it's like, "Oh, it makes so much sense." Do you wanna add anything?
No, I think you got that covered.
And then the yearly lunar phase, we had the Cancer new moon on June 25th of 25 at 4 degrees Cancer, and we're having the Cancer full moon on January 3rd of 26 at 13 degrees Cancer. So you can also look at the yearly lunar phase to see, well, did you start something around the end of June? And did it go? Did it start? Are you having results from what you started now at the full moon? Because now it's illumination time. Um, and some will stand out more than others. Do you want to add anything, Justin?
No.
Okay. So I want to thank Justin for you for joining me today. I want to thank our audience that's watching live and those that come back and watch at a later date. We appreciate your support. And now we're going to go in and talk about Justin and I are both consulting astrologers. We have newsletters and YouTube channels. So if you want to get a hold of us, please do sign up and follow us. We appreciate your support. And Justin, go ahead.
Yeah, so the best two ways to get a hold of me are through my YouTube at Astrological Yogi or my email at Justin.Elzie at gmail.com.
And I have other shows. I have a series called the Astrology Star Sisters with a number of topics. Justin joins me a few times each month for the astrology forecast for the month, the full moon forecast. He joins me on the Cosmic Connections relationship astrology. Lots in the archives and coming out each week. And I want to thank our sponsor, Astro Peregrine, an astrology software for Mac and Windows. You can find out more information at astroperegrine.com. Justin, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. And I look forward to having you back on in the very near future.
All right,
And
thanks for having me.
yeah, and we're going to say goodbye to our audience and see y'all next time. So goodbye for now.